Okay, hi, my name is Jessie and welcome back to this music video review titled American Oxygen, but this episode is titled Mammon Master. Let me do a quick introduction, just a story. Something that I've realized, okay, is as someone who has Christ, in reality, if you have Christ, you don't need anything else. Money doesn't matter because there are things that money cannot buy. And unfortunately, we have been lied to thinking that money or material possession, however you want to see it, is valuable. But let's say you have une crise cardiaque, okay? A heart attack. What can money really do for you? Money can buy you a place in God's presence. I realize that I'm way more than money. Like, I'm the currency, okay? And that's what I want you to realize. You are the image of God, okay? You, the human body. Okay, so let me read. So I had to write because there is so much going on, and I hope you enjoyed that video. Am I too far from the camera? Okay, let's go. Satan has sold bondage as freedom, also known as Roman's worshipper of Satan, Saturn, who took the nations into a deep deception, also known as NASA. Bad is sold as good, men are sold as women, Indians are sold as blacks, darkness, chaos, is sold as light, pedophile are sold as innocent children. Yes. Demons are sold as companions, doll, etc., instead of the Holy Spirit. Mothers are sold as fathers. Human bodies are sold as currency. Prison cells are sold as condos. Richness is sold as a green paper. You can reap, as a green paper you can rip, now moving to something digital that you can't even touch. Astral is sold as enlightenment, and astral means to be led astray, okay, just like NASA. Lucifer is sold as Christ, or Antichrist is sold as Christ. So we are in the last days, of course. And Satan is sold as God. So the money system is only possible if we, the human body, those who God formed in the Garden of Eden, which he blew the breath of life into us, okay, made of soil, and he said, I give you dominion, and he said, be fruitful and multiply. And he created men and women. Okay, so let's see. So the system is only possible if we agree to it. That only shows that we are the true currency. So can you imagine building a city and no one lives there? You say, why did they build that city? You know, because a city without the people in it is impossible. Okay, so God gave man dominion on earth, but the moment we turn to Mammon, we agree to slavery. Mammon, meaning the money, but also the material possession. So, isn't the goal to eat from our own garden, in reference to Eden Garden? Because if not, what does it mean to live? That means living as a slave, living as someone who owes to someone. Because if you owe to someone, you are the slave of that someone, okay? Whoever it is. What does it mean? Okay, so now, what does it mean to be alive? Only after the environment was set, God formed man, Adam and Eve, to cultivate the system he has and to be fruitful and multiply, which they were made in his image. Adam and Eve, the human body was made in God's image. Adam was like a projection of Jesus. But Jesus is married to Jerusalem, the bride. Okay, the soul, the Holy Land. Okay, so this suggests that men formed in God's image. Okay, so yeah, this suggests that without men formed in God's image, the domain cannot sustain. We have dominion. Okay, so there's a designer of the brand Balenciaga, which I talked about in this channel, which means Baal is king. He said, so he's the director of the brand, and his name is Demna, or Demne, okay, Demne, comme condamné. Anyway, so l'argent, le fétiche le plus pervers qui soit. So sometimes we think of something that is perverse, we think of sex, we think of all of these imagery or things they put into us, but in reality, the money itself, Mammon itself, is a fetish. Okay, so God, we believe money was freedom, but in reality, money is bondage. So can you imagine attaching yourself to a value, to a number that is decided by the bank? They say, okay, this day, this costs this amount. That day, this costs this amount. If you do this, it costs this amount. So can you imagine just thinking that you have a number attached to your being? That is crazy. And that is deception, because God did not create us with these numbers in mind. The real, let's say, the real flex is to be in God's image and then to have the Holy Spirit. Okay, so money cannot buy joy nor... wait. We believe money was freedom, but in reality, money is bondage. Job and Solomon were rich not with money, but with children, lands, cattle, and you can imagine. And even the houses, sometimes people are going to say, I have like many properties, but why would you have a house that you don't live in? I think that's a waste of money, isn't it? Okay, so money cannot buy joy, nor healing. It cannot buy a child, nor a husband or a wife, nor it can buy eternal life, nor protection, so God's divine protection. There's a verse that says, I only know it in French, but it says that, et si Dieu c'est pas celui qui regarde, qui surveille la ville, ceux qui la gardent en vain. Okay? Then, so money cannot buy love. It cannot buy grace. It cannot buy God, nor knowledge. Okay? Because the Holy Spirit cannot be bought. The American dream consists of owning, but in reality they say owning, but it's truly renting. You will own nothing and be happy. Does that sound an alarm? Anyway, so, and working like a slave for that which you don't truly own. So it's like you're working as a slave for something that you don't really own. At the price of your soul. And what is your soul? Your soul is your blood. And now we can think of different, even in these big cities of the Mesopotamia, we can think of, which we live beyond two rivers, we can think of blood works as a way of giving blood. Even the Emma Quebec, all these publicities where they invite you to give your soul, because your blood is your soul. And I've read it in the Bible. I was so surprised because I didn't know. Like when I thought of soul, I thought of something, I don't know, something that we can't touch, we can't see. But God says that your blood is your soul. And that's why sometimes you see the KKK has a drop of blood with an X as a logo. Then think of Emma Quebec. Think of also all these, what's spoken behind the walls about people going to parties or to association where they ask you for your blood. Okay, you sign with your blood, and blood is so important because what did God did? he sent Jesus, so he came into the image of man, okay? The image of God because he was God. But anyway, so he came down and he shed his blood. Okay, so blood is soul. So yeah. Okay, and Satan cannot buy a soul that is already God's. Okay, let's be clear on that. Okay, and we can even think of the abortion clinic in the hospital when people don't reclaim their babies. What they do to these children. When they have like a handicap, these babies get abandoned, these newborn, and you know they get rid of them. So that's another form of sacrificing to Moloch, just like it says in the Bible. And there's different way we can think of sacrificing our kid to Moloch, because if you live in Mesopotamia, like Montreal, Toronto, and all these areas, I spoke of Toronto and the Ovologo and Moloch, etc. Okay, so now let's talk about the Federal Reserve. So when we think of Mammon, we think of money. That's the first thing that comes to mind, which is normal. That's the image they've been projecting for so long. But when we think of Mammon, we have to think of the banking system. So now money now is becoming astral. So it's in thin air, okay? And this is crazy because now you need a phone. You need a phone to have access to your money. So if you don't have electricity, if there's no Wi-Fi, if you don't have your devices, or if you don't have charge in your phone, then you have no access to your money. Okay, so the Federal Reserve, they had a meeting. I can't remember exactly when it happened. Okay, so the Federal Reserve has this thing they've created, a system, a design when it comes to the economic system, the financial system, that is called the octopus, also known as the Aldrich Plan. Aldrich Plan. See the wordplay? Okay, so in 1971, also the US money was removed from the gold standard. So that means that the money was not anymore backed up by the gold the country owns. So that means that they were able to print money out of thin air and charge you interest on that. So that's sort of a legal scam, in other words, a deception. And now it's turning into a digital money, the biggest deception once again. But in reality, just like I said earlier, the richness that Solomon or Job had was in terms of children, in terms of having a family, having cattle, having land, and a house where they live, not like many properties. Okay. Okay, so for that system to be in place and function, you need to have poor people. Okay, those who are sacrificed in order to feed that system. Just like in the movie Metropolis, which I've made a review on. Okay, so the US money, to me, US and Canada is the same. It's America, in other words. So the US money, it's written, "In God we trust." So now, instead of having the money backed up by the gold standard, okay, the amount of gold they own, instead it's only built on thin air, and you are the one who put your trust into that astral world or universe, astral universe, a deception. Okay, so let me be quick on that. Okay, so remember one thing, our will. So how can Satan cannot make the decision for you because you have dominion. God gave man dominion, and it has nothing to do with being Christian or being saved or not saved. It only has to do with being formed in the image of God. Because there are some of us that are not in the image of God, also known as the Walking Dead. Just like, this is a thriller night. This is not fiction. It is more real than you think. Okay, so Satan is after our will. So he cannot, just like with Eve, so what he did to Eve, he seduced her. He talked to her ears, he entertained Eve, and Eve allowed it. Then he seduced her into seeing that tree in another way. So he talked to so when someone speaks to you, it goes to your thoughts, and your thoughts is your heart, the middle, okay? So that's why God says protect your heart. So protect your ear, because what you think, this is what you will see. But this is deception, okay? God says to not trust your own heart. Man's heart is deceitful, and that's why we need the Holy Spirit, and that's why God had to sacrifice Jesus Christ, Lord and Savior. Okay. So now that, okay, so deception. So think the deception is Satan is not committing the sin. You are committing the sin. And because you are committing the sin, the law of God says you reap what you sow. And that's why also God says that if you want something, okay, from someone or anything, do that step first, because tu vas le récolter. You will, how do we say in English? You will harvest it? Yeah, you will harvest what you've sowed. So God is not mocked. These two laws tells you that God is God. And God is science. And they sold anti-science as science. Okay, so Satan is after a will. It's a game of psychology. Okay, so think of television. Well, the cable system, because you can literally talk to demons in the phone. Okay, it's not only something that works in the physical. It's all of the. It's way deeper than that. Okay, there's different dimensions in the communication system. Then also think of the personality test. That is so. There's a big propaganda in the personality test. Take your personality test. Your personality. Can you give me a break about that personality thing? Oh my God. Then there's therapy. Everywhere I go, I went to therapy and now I feel better. I went to therapy, I'm gonna talk to my psychologist. It's just propaganda to send you into building comment dire ça, faire un dossier that you're crazy. Okay, it's deception once again. They're not here to help you, but to study you and to have a better way to. Okay. Because Satan comes to kill, steal, and destroy, and we fight not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. It's nothing to play with. And that's why we have to armor ourselves with with prayer and the Holy Spirit, because Satan is powerful. He represents nothing against God, but just you, a human, against Satan, forget it. He has your soul. Okay, then think of all the propaganda, the publicity, the billboards, the screens at the gas station, at the library. Screens are everywhere, and there's radio everywhere. You go to the grocery, there's radio. You go to shopping mall, there's a radio. You go to even a parking lot, there's a radio. Okay? So this is sort of propaganda. Okay, so now that we are the temple of the Holy Spirit, because once the temple was physical. Think of the Babel Tower, a physical thing that represents something. It represented the will of man over the will of God. Okay, that's what this tower represented. Okay, and now what is the will of man? Man's heart is deceitful. Okay, and how Satan was able to seduce Eve with knowledge. Sometimes we want to go out of God to seek our own knowledge, but this is deceitful. God is knowledge. God is science. God is the Holy Spirit. God is love. So even for love, we tend to go outside, but everything is in God. Healing is in God. Man. So now that we are the temple of the Holy Spirit, okay, so the Holy Spirit resides in the heart. So it's sort of it goes back to Eden, because Eden means in God, so in God's presence, in God's love, in God's abundance, in God's perfect will. So the same goes with our heart now. Now that God has resurrected, the Holy Spirit resides in the heart. So you become the temple, you become the tower of God. You become, because He resides in you, the Father and the Son in you. And there's a verse that says that because the Father and the Son is in you, you will do even greater than what Jesus did. Now, my prayer is for us to receive that grace, that wisdom, and that love too. So, Eden means where God resides, so where love resides, where life resides, where discernment resides, where wisdom, etc. Your eyes are a lamp. So when we think of the evil eye, even the practice with the Hindu, the solar system and the whatever they call it, the frontal, the brain, the frontal brain. So when you think of the evil eye, the reality is with television, because they've been projecting you a desire, they've seduced you into believing that money was the solution. They seduce you into believing that having money will make you better or will make you... So the seduction, because of that, these give you thoughts that it is true, and because of that, when you see now a green paper, or you see something that resembles money, or you see a car that shines, or a house, then you want it, because that's why they've been pushing you to want these things. They've made you lust after these things. And also, that's why even sometimes people don't realize that the eyes are also a gate. So what you consume, so what you even consume, you will act on it. What you hear too. So that's why also television is so powerful, because you have sound, then you have imagery. So Satan can project you a vision. Just like television, tell a lie, tell a vision. So they're giving you a false vision, just like when they projected that they walked on the moon. This was, of course, a whole montage, but they're giving you a vision in order to structure your brain to think a certain way. And I think there's an image that best describes that, but I'm not going to get into it. Okay, so finally, let me conclude this introduction, very long introduction. Love is God, and Satan comes disguised as love. So God is love, and Satan comes disguised as love. So think of all the R&B songs that you've heard, all of the "My love, don't go, baby," all these "Lady, you're my lady." All these are speaking about Babylon. It's just a shortcut. So Babi, baby, bebe, and Babylon is eating your kid. That's a sacrifice of Moloch. Okay, so you offer your kid in exchange for whatever it is, money, but you're still a slave. You're still a slave. And on top of that, you're sacrificing your own kid. Okay. So, okay, my question would be, so I have many questions just to close out this segment and get into the real video. So, my introduction is money more valuable than your body? And now think of all the brand names that you wear and the money you're willing to spend on them. Is death or destruction more valuable than life? And think of the lifestyle that most of us are living. So we put ourselves in very stressful situation, obsessive situation. We live in anxiety. We don't sleep really well. Most of us have sleep problems. We stay on our phone. And even in the train, metro, wherever you go, people are always on their phone, even when they eat together. So that would be the question now. And even we don't realize it, but being around people will help to get well instead of isolation. And everything now is remote, so we sort of lose this desire for human contact. And that's why we turn into robots, AI, which in reality are demons, in other words. Okay, so what is more valuable, gold or a fertile land? So sometimes people are so focused on having the gold, the money, but hey, let's say there's no food anywhere. What is your money gonna do for you? You need to eat, see? So what is more valuable, the gold itself that you can maybe you can shape a chain or a jewelry, whatever. But when it comes to eating, what are you going to do? What are you going to choose? Then the other question would be, or the statement, Babylon is the land of idolatry, in other words. Okay, prostitution. So when you think of Mammon master, when you come here is to prostitute yourself. But of course, there's the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, okay, where they were asked to prostitute themselves, so to bow down to a false god. And think of the music or the song of Beyonce that says, bow down, hey! And Beyonce means beyond others, Babylon, in other words. She's the face of Columbia Records, the golden disc, a spirit, a being, anyway. So yeah, it's the land of prostitution, okay? Whether it's for male or female, it doesn't matter the gender, okay? Spirit can influence both. Okay, so what is prostitution? I'll just give a few examples. So wearing luxury brand and luxury, dating without ever getting married, so no commitment but fornication, and even like fornicating with the back in the days of Noah when they had babies with the fallen angels, when they were carrying Nephilim in their belly. So this is also prostitution. So smoking and drinking is also it's prostitution, a form of it. Drugs and food, so think of the fast foods and drugs, whether it's pills, because whether you take Tylenol or you take other pills, you're still popping pills at the end of the day, okay? It's just it makes you think that, oh, but this one is okay, this one is not, but when in reality, money cannot buy healing. Ça, c'est juste des soulagements, it's just a business, you know? Then material possession, so people are willing to do anything for material possession. They're willing to not even sleep in their own house doing overtime for material possession, sacrificing their time with their kids for material possession, the deception, for money, in other words, Mammon. Okay, so let's get into the video. And oof, that was a very long introduction, but I had to let this out. American oxygen.
This is the new America. 911, what's your emergency? America.
Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight.
Okay, so welcome back to this music video review titled titled American Oxygen. So this was performed by Rihanna. And today's episode is the 12th episode and the title is Mammon Master. Okay, so when you think of master, think of the material world, think of money, think of possession, physical possession. And master, think of this verse that says, no man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve God and Mammon. So these are the two masters, God and Mammon. Therefore I said unto you, take no thought for your life, that ye shall eat, or what ye shall drink, nor yet for your body, what ye shall put on. Is not the life more than meat, or the body than clothes? Okay, so today's episode, I thought would be interesting to bring the X, Mammon Master. So X. Here is the chromosome. So the chromosome, what is a chromosome? So a chromosome is a package of DNA containing part of the genetic material and organism. So when you think of your body, the human body, we're made of cells. And I spoke of cell division, okay, that multiplies. Okay, so it divides, then you have two whole cells that creates, that is part of the world. And think of, even when they talk about the Big Bang Theory, think maybe of cell division. In the cell, you find the chromosome, okay? So the chromosome is represented by the X, and inside the chromosome, you find the DNA. So when people talk about the gene, DNA mixing, and etc., it's the X, okay? And also think of the X in Roman numeral, it stands for 10. Okay, so normally chromosomes are only visible through a microscope, okay? Only through cell division that we call metaphase, metamorphose, I guess. So all chromosomes are sort of aligned and condensed in the form of an X. Okay, so here is the structure on the right. So what is interesting to me, okay, is the middle of the structure. So the X is the middle. So during the metaphase, the duplicated structure called the metaphase chromosome is highly condensed, easiest to distinguish and study in anaphase during chromosome segregation. Okay, so when the cell division happens, they call it the sister in reference to Genesis. It's very essential when we talk about sexual reproduction. So we know that men are XX and women XY, or I think it's the opposite. I can't remember exactly. And these structures when these structures are manipulated incorrectly, it can cause instability. The cell may undergo into mitotic catastrophe, and this can usually cause the cell to initiate apoptosis, leading its own death, okay? So self-destruction. And also, when it comes to cell mutation, this can also result into progression of cancer. So when you think of the food that you eat that is that has different genes or different things that are added, these elements or these foods can cause chaos in your cells, which can lead to cancer, okay? So that's why we have to really be careful with the food that we eat and anything that can change our DNA in some sort of sense. Okay, so what's interesting is that the DNA is... Okay, so what's interesting in the chromosome is the middle that we call the centromere. Then the DNA that you see here, okay, that looks like a spiral. Then see, it is represented by a pentagon and an hexagon, okay? And I spoke of the pentagon and I spoke of the hexagon. Both are the star of Remphan. Okay, so the DNA, what is DNA? Okay, so this is the spiral that you see in the X. So DNA is a substance in which we find the encoded genes of genetics, so the code of life, instruction for development, functioning, growth, and reproduction of the human, okay? And think of when God created man in the Garden of Eden, the first man, Adam. So he has all of these codes inside of him. So this is the code of life. In the DNA, we find God's code of life, since God is science and the author of life. So he's the one who blew the breath of life into Adam's nostrils. See here, in the DNA. So this is the DNA chemical structure on the right. So you have the hydrogen bond. So hydrogen, the breath of life, shown as dot lines, each end up with a double helix as an exposed 5, like the pentagon, in one strand, and exposed 3 hydroxyl group, so OH and the other. So I thought it was interesting. See, so you have the hexagram, then you have some pentagon. So that means that most of the logos that we see, like the anti-Jew logo, all come from this structure, okay? So the goal is to destroy the image of God, Adam, from Eden. Let's talk about Genesis and what it means. So Genesis, you see the word gene, birth of life. Genesis refers to the birth of life. So you see the word gene, le gène, genetic, generation, because from Adam, God built his kingdom. Then nativity, so Adam was made from the soil, from the land. I guess he was made from the Holy Land, okay, where Eden was planted. I do believe Eden was planted à l'Orient, soleil levant. Then cis, think of sister, cis, and Genesis refers to give birth, to be born. Then indigène, so once again the word gène, indigène, native from the soil. So indi Indien, Indica, India, India, indigenous, indigent. So you also find the word gene, generation, genetic, genes. And India means in God. So the first man who was created was an indigene. Adam was an indigene. And that is the reason why too, some people don't understand why so-called black people are so persecuted. Well, it is because so-called black people, and when I say black people, now I'm really talking about the skin color. I'm not talking about the spirits, the black spirits. I'm just using this general term. So these that we call black people, us that we call black people, are in reality indigenous, okay? And some of us are Jews from the tribe of Judah. Israelites, in other words. Okay, so I wanted to bring also this map. So when we think of the world, in the first episode, Black Power, I've presented an image of the globe, but the globe is literally an image that suggests that God is not the foundation, that Christ is not the foundation anymore, but instead that we live in the astral world where led astray, Satan is the prince of power of air, okay? But here on the left, you see the TO map. So this is what we call the old world, and the globe would be the new world. But we know that there is nothing new under the sun. And what God has established in Genesis is still relevant today and for eternity. You have the TO map. So Sem represents Asia. Then Europe, Japhet, and Africa, Sham. These are the three sons of Noah. Okay, the land was divided among them. And then Si Orientis, okay, Orient above, which means Soleil Levant, the direction of Soleil Levant. Septentrion, which means the north. Then Méridiane, which is the south. And of course, Occident, the west. Okay, so these are the three sons of Noah, and then was the whole earth overspread. Okay, so once again, this is another view of the TO map. Above, you see India. Okay, India above, where I do believe this is where the Eden garden was planted, because c'était à l'Orient. So here it says, and the Lord planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put man whom he had formed. So when you think of India, think of West India. Then il y a aussi les Indes occidentales. Caribbean, another name that we give to the Caribbean is West India. It's also called les Indes occidentales. Here in the map, you see where the Eden, the paradise. Yeah, paradise. Okay, paradise. See in India above. Interesting. Okay, so above, it's 1. So think of a clock. Okay, see the Roman numeral. So 1, as in Soleil Levant. So it starts there. And then see Britain is at the bottom. Then what else? Okay, so here in Africa, Libya is sort of here. Then in the middle, Jerusalem is in the middle of the world. Then Asia, see Asia? So there's no America in this map, okay? America is just a construct of the new world. It's just a deception. It's not a physical fact. Okay, so let's continue. So I'm going to bring also this La Proclamation d'Indépendance of Haiti, okay, by Jean-Jacques Dessalines. So the title here, Si Liberté ou la Mort, okay, but it's also written Armée Indigène, meaning India. And here the verse in Galate 5, it says, stand fast therefore in the liberty wherewith Christ hath made us free, and be not entangled again with the yoke of bondage. See? Okay. This article here, so this is about les Indes occidentales, just like I was speaking. So this is in French, but it doesn't really matter. So just before les grandes explorations of Christophe Columbus, who's actually Moloch, it talks about les chrétiens, okay? Chrétiens meaning in Christ, had to flee, populer les terres espagnoles afin de font arriver. Okay.
I'm not really going to read the article. It doesn't really matter. But this article was about the destruction of West India. Then here was the establishment of the New World, what we call le Nouveau Monde, the globe, America, les grandes explorations of Christophe Columbus. So India means in God, India, land, land, land. Then Caraïbes, the island, land. Okay, so c'est comme the apple of the eye, the island. West India and Occidental, and Antilles means anti-island. Okay, so anti-AI. Okay, so the question I asked myself was, so there's India, then there's Indonesia. So what's the deal here? Okay, so India is literally a country, but Indonesia, we're talking about the islands, okay? Also known as les Indes Occidentales. Also, what's interesting is that the colors of Indonesia, the flag is red and white, and it is exactly the same as the Poland flag, just the opposite. So it's white and red, the Poland's, but it's really the same flag. There's a flag, a African flag that looks exactly like India. Another question would be, is Canada India? This India, where they worship Shiva, okay, where there's Hinduism. Here in Montreal, at least, we have a lot of temples dedicated to Shiva, destruction. And Shiva comes in many forms, also known as Ishtar, Inanna, Luna, Lucifer, Star of Remphan, etc., etc., etc. And when we think also of Indica, Sativa, so Indica, okay, so Indian, Canadian, and Sativa, Shiva, destruction. So like weed could be perceived also as a tool to destroy the Indians, okay? Because most people say that the blacks are the ones smoking the weed, but the reason is because they created this thing to exterminate, exterminate the Jews, the black, that we call black, okay? I'll just say Jews, the Israelites.
As I talked to the people from New York State, I realized the need for money to deal with this problem. I am glad that in this administration we have increased the amount of money for handling the problem of dangerous drugs sevenfold. It will be $600 million this year. More money will be needed in the future. I want to say, however, that despite our budget problems, to the extent money can help in meeting the problem of dangerous drugs, it will be available. This is one area where we cannot have budget cuts because we must wage what I have called total war against public enemy number one in the United States, the problem of dangerous drugs.
Prime Minister, if things go well with the BC decriminalization, would you consider decriminalizing some hard drugs nationally to deal with the crisis?
I think every step of the way we need to make sure that we're following science and data, and that's exactly what we're doing. There's been long calls to look at decriminalization, but you don't want to do it without the system and the supports in place. And that's what we were really focused on with BC, to make sure that it wasn't just flipping a switch, that it was actually building up capacity and making sure that there are many, many different ways to support people, whether it's safe supply, whether it's measures that surround this decriminalization. That's why working with a jurisdiction that wanted to do it was priority for us. And of course, we've already heard cities like Toronto and Edmonton interested in taking this on as well. We're going to work with them and try to make sure every step of the way that if we move forward, it is not just a single solution, that it is a full wraparound approach like we're trying to create in BC. On peut pas tout simplement faire secouer une baguette magique puis dire OK, voilà, le problème est réglé. Non, on sait que ça prend des appuis, ça prend des investissements du provincial, ça prend des systèmes de santé, ça prend une approche intégrée, et c'est exactement ce qu'on a fait.
We talked about the travel restrictions. The tourism groups want them lifted, and there has been some criticism that the communication around the reasoning hasn't been transparent.
Well, the reality is, as much as people would like to pretend we're not, we're still in a pandemic. There are Canadians who die every single day because of COVID-19 in our hospitals. We are still at risk. We're particularly at risk as fall approaches of new variants. We need to make sure we're doing everything we can to keep Canadians safe. And I know people are eager to get back to things we love. But what will also further damage our tourism industry is if we get another wave, if we get more serious impacts from COVID. That's why every single time we have been anchored in science. We're reflecting on what the best way to do to make sure that we can get back to the things we love as quickly as possible without putting ourselves at risk for further health crises, for further economic shutdowns, for further hardship that COVID has brought. Merci beaucoup tout le monde.
Okay, so this is also a image of Shiva. So she has a red dot in the middle of her forehead. And then she has many arms. Very often she has 4 arms and she has a guitar. And think of Bob Marley, who represents the guitar. Think also of Springsteen, who in the cover of Born in USA had a guitar. And we know that American Oxygen was inspired by this Springsteen, Born in USA, which USA is a astral world. Deception. Okay, so what's interesting too is she's holding the pearl, and think of La Perle des Antilles, meaning Haiti. The guitar, think of Rasta, think of Bob Marley. Both Haitians and Jamaicans are part of the tribe of Judah. Oh, and Shiva is also known as Saraswati in Hinduism. And here on the right, you see the statue of Shiva in the Murudeshwara temple it's really by the Indian Sea. And it's in Canada, which looks like Canada, India. Okay, so the dragon snake of destruction, also depicted as a woman with 4 to 8 arms, known as Shiva, Swaraj, Saraswati, Sharada, Savitri, Sativa, Diva, which means demon. Just like the music video of Beyonce, Na 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 Diva is a female version of a hustler, because these are androgen god too, so male and female. And that's why we do have this war about the LGBTQ, which also is part of destroying the Genesis, the image of God. Okay, so, and also another thing that I'd like to add about this is they encourage people to, they encourage women into abortion. They have pills, the contraception, condom, all sort of technology. Yet, okay, they are promoting fake babies, people buying or deciding the nationality of their babies, women being able to buy sperm. And the question you should ask yourself is, what sperm is that? Is that the representation or the days of Noah being reproduced when women were carrying Nephilim's baby? So where is this thing coming from, these sperm that you buy in the lab, okay? And these fake babies too.
Yeah. I say we travel together. What do you say?
I say yes.
Yes! We go to Jamaica.
We go to Japan.
We go to Africa.
Colombia.
We go to Madagascar.
And then we go to India.
Reunion Island.
Where's that?
Mana?
How are you?
Jimmy, how are you? You know what this is?
Of course.
I was just thinking about you. Thought I'd give you a call.
Okay, so also known as Branami, Baradi, Vani, Vagdevi, Durga, dragon. So pagan god this is a pagan god or demon, okay? That flows, river goddess or siren, a master of knowledge, speech, music, beauty, and arts, because Shiva, destruction, is in all of these elements, also in architecture. So beauty, in reference to beauty, La Perle des Antilles, Haiti, and the beast, Anti-Île, which is America. Okay, so the colors too, see the white and the red, very important. And also here the trident. okay, trident, which also is a W. Then you have the snake around her neck, the pearls, and they're representing above and below with the hands. And then also the statue is sitting as doing yoga or pilates, which all are rituals in order to invite demons to inhabit you, okay, the demons of the destruction. There's a celebration that is called Diwali, which sounds like duality, like yin yang logo, and it is a Hindu festival of light, so lunisolar, in other words Saturn, a celebration of 5 to 6 days because they're giving glory to the star of Remphan in honor of Shiva, destruction of the Jew, also known as Satan. Also celebrated in the Caribbean, ironically, that we now call anti-island, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, Suriname, West Indies in other words, and South Asia in India. Okay, so these are the logos that they use in Hinduism. Okay, so Hinduism is of course a pagan religion. They're serving the demon, destruction, Satan, Lucifer, however. So these are like all signs to give glory to the sun. So here, this is the wheel with 8 direction. Then you have the palm and the sun in the palm. Then here you have, I don't know what is this logo exactly, nor this one, but I do see 2 swords. Then here, this is the Star of Remphan, the hexagram, which represents, in the DNA, it represents the Ganin. I don't know, one of them, okay? But the hydrogen structure, part of the hydrogen structure. So think of I can't breathe, okay? And also, just want to mention that all of these drugs, well, whether it's fentanyl, weed, and etc., the excess of it, even I do believe smoking, tobacco in general, and also hookah, all of these, if you consume it, you lead yourself to, or you get more vulnerable to avoir une crise cardiaque, and that would be an overdose of drug. This is a way of killing people without having an arm, okay? Okay, so this is the logo of Shiva here, okay, the swastika. So that represents her, the 4 arms, and there are 5 dots. Then here, these are the symbol that they call Abrahamic symbols, which of course is a blaspheme. So from top to bottom, so at the top, they call it the Jewish star, but in reality, this is Star of Remphan. Then see here the Christianity cross, which represents Babylon. Then the star of creation and the moon for Islam. So you have the star of Remphan, the sun, the moon, the eclipse, which represents Saturn. In reality, we think that these are different religions, but they're all serving Satan. It's either you serve God or you serve Mammon. And what did Mammon offered Jesus Christ when he was in the mountain, in the desert? He offered him the world, so material possession. But we know that God is the king of this world, okay? And God owns Satan.
Okay, so there's a real debate out there with, once again, still this day, with Galileo and the flat earth, the globe. Let me just break this down. So when it comes to the flat earth, it's simple. It's not flat as like there's infinity flat. No, it's like there's a circle, and then on top of that circle, there's a dome. And then you have the columns that go to eternity, and see the columns as the same rock that you see under the sea, the same ones you see very high. Let me just show this image. Oops. Don't mind the brand. Okay, I'll remove the brand. But this star is the Star of Remphan, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so regarde, see the shape? Okay, yeah, I don't want to show the star. Okay, so this is the shape of the world. So you have the columns, and then you have a dome, and you realize that this same shape. This is what we call the flat earth. So this is like a circle, and then there's the water, qui a une limite, and then here we live. And then you have the solar system that turns around. Well, the solar system, let me not say that, but instead you have the moon and the sun that do their cycle, and then you have the stars. That's it. As simple as that. And then when it comes to the globe, it's literally just a globe in the middle of nowhere, and that is part of other planets. And what is even a planet to begin with? And that globe is rotating around the sun with other planets. To me, that sounds like something that is really stupid and made up. Because God never spoke about planets in this book. And when Mercury and Jupiter was mentioned, it was mentioned by a pagan group in Athens because they had no knowledge. So this is in reality anti-science to think of the solar system. And the solar system in reality, by the way, is the financial system that worships Lucifer, in other words. But they sold you an image. And that image that they sell you, if you look at it from above, you realize that it's a 6 for the beast system. That is now worldwide, I believe. Okay, so let me go back to the image of man. So let me read that. So God created man in his So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he, male and female created he them. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And provision for food. So there's plenty of food. Okay, so in other words, the battle between the Roman Catholics, so the temple of Saturn, Satan, and Galileo, was that man is the center of the universe. We have the will, we have dominion, Satan doesn't. And in order for Satan's plans to be effective, we have to give our agreement. We have to give him our will. And the only the tactic that Satan uses, okay, because there is nothing new under the sun, he did the same in the Garden of Eden, was to use entertainment, seduction, and probably it came in the form of Adam. Maybe he looked, some people think as a serpent, he came as a serpent, but he probably came with a certain image that was attractive because he came disguised as the angel of light. Oh oui, mère, tu peux parler avec ton frère rouge là? Ça fait trop comme si gangsterhood. Non, non. Puis tes cheveux sont faits. Comprends? Ok. Okay, so, and also the Roman Church, the Roman Catholic are in reality a symbol of Babylon. And Babylon, think of the Babel Tower. So we think of the human body nowadays because we are the temple of God. And of course the Antichrist will be the Babel Tower, if God allows it. But what I'm saying is the Babylon, well, the symbol of Babylon is the bell. And the bell that you see in the Catholic churches, the bell that you see on top of it, or the Bell Liberty in Philadelphia near Washington. That's that. And even the company Bell Telephone or Bell Canada, okay, the same company is in the US, maybe under another name. Then also think of Google being powered by Bell. Now the question would be, why would we trust what Google is projecting as an image? Because they're the one who owns probably the sea cable, the satellites on top, then they have their own machine system that gives us the illusion of a globe. And when you think of a globe, think of the evil eye, okay? Like the Columbia CBS logo. But Think also of your globe, your eyes, the deception, because when Satan spoke to Eve, she saw the tree as beautiful, but before that, why is it that she never thought of eating of that fruit? Okay, because that tree was placed in the middle of the garden. It was not hidden. See? And of course, Satan offered Jesus the world, okay? And when you think of the world, think of the globe. And I've mentioned in the first episode of that series, in Black Power, I've mentioned the globe, the deception, the astral globe. Astral meaning to be led astray. And Naza being seducing, the serpent that is projecting this image. And then television, think of a black box. A black box, and the same black box that is in the Middle East, but a black box of deception, the magician box, witchcraft, okay, television, green screen, deception, filters, etc., montage, okay. So Satan offered Jesus the world for the price of his soul. He said, I will give all of these to you, okay? But he said, praise me, jump. But you have to think one thing, okay? Satan promised Jesus the world, but Jesus owned the world. We already have dominion. We have it. And Jesus is building his kingdom. From the moment he walked the earth, he had dominion, the kingdom, everything was set. And if Satan knew that Jesus was there to go to the cross, he would never crucify God. But only God's will prosper. Okay, so that's why you have to get on God's will in order to prosper on God's will. So follow the path. Jesus is the only true, the way of life. Or life. Okay, so blood is your soul is your blood.
Okay, so India, this is their flag. So it is in sud, southeast. Then you also have what we call les Indes occidentales, just here in the middle, in the light green. Then that would be Australia, but I do believe that Australia is sort of Holland for some reason, Hollywood. Okay, so this is another map. So here they're practicing Hinduism. And my question would be, imagine this was Canada, okay? Because we do live by the river, La Rivière de Frat. Then we also we're located beyond two rivers. And even when it comes to the US, there's the Mississippi River that goes very far, so that means Egypt is not as far. Anyway, so, I'm saying this, but I do still have many questions, honestly. Okay, so these are the same symbols that they call Abrahamic symbols. Okay, so going back to Christophe Colomb, who's actually Moloch, he did the navigation dans les Indes occidentales, and that's interesting because if you write navigation Indes occidentales, they say that Christophe Colomb was sort of confused because back in 1492, he was very sure he went to India. He was in India. Attends, pour distinguer cette terre du continent asiatique, on les nomma les Indes occidentales. Yeah, exactly. So he was convinced he was going to Asia, but he landed in India. India is in Asia. But instead, they twisted the story saying that no, he thought he was going to Asia, but in reality, he ended up in the Caribbean and etc., etc. Well, that's a lie. Le commerce triangulaire, so the triangle, the commerce, okay, the system, when they put Israel into slavery, was the triangle, okay, so they were in the middle, shipping the slaves, going to Africa, going to Asia, so some part of Asia or Babylon, and then Europe too. And of course, the Africans were part of that commerce too. Okay, so that's interesting here because once again, another map. So this is Asia. Then see Indonesia, it is called the East Indies, but also the other part is West India. Okay, so here you have the different maps. What I think is interesting is I was looking at the Papua New Guinea because they say that Dessalines comes from Guinea and people think of Africa. But of course, we have to understand that the globe is deception. We have to go back to the TO map. Okay, so Papua New Guinea, it reminds me of Haiti. Wait. Where's the map? Okay, Cuba. C'est ça, Cuba, ici. That would be Cuba. It looks exactly like Cuba and Haiti. But what's interesting is that the size is changed. So in the map, you can make something look bigger than it actually is. That's the thing with art, drawing, or designing some things. You make something looks bigger, so people think it is bigger, but in reality, anyway, continue. Okay, so this is the map that we see in the what they call Pacific Ocean in the south, but in reality there's 3 parts. And this is the map that they sold us in the Caribbean. So Haiti, then Puerto Rico, Cuba here, Kingston, and then you have all the Caribbean. And what's interesting is that the Caribbean, so this is the flag of the Caribbean, the West Indies Federation. So see the sun here? It's an indication that we are in the Soleil Levant. So whenever you see any logos that has the sun, it's in reference to L'Orient, les Soleil Levant, where God planted the garden that they call paradise. Okay, so then here, I just wanted to show some logos. So here you have La Compagnie Occident, okay, Compagnie des Indes Occidentales, from 1664 to 67. So you see La Fleur de Lys, you see also the navy blue. Then you see 2 Israelites naked. Then here at the bottom, you see le logo des Indes. So once again, the sun, because it's located where the sun rises. Also, you can even think of Cirque du Soleil, things like these. But Cirque du Soleil, of course, is a company that is in blaspheme to the Caribbean. But anyway, and also what's interesting is that the Caribbean is also represented by 88 for the 2 Bs. Okay, so this is another logo that you see in East India Trading Company flag. It looks like the Mercedes logo, honestly. So the Mercedes logo, the Jordan logo, even the Timberland logo. And you might say, okay, so why is it that you show me that? Well, I'm going to show you something and you will be shocked, okay? Once again, another map of the East Indies. And I think that's interesting because here I see Laval. Or maybe it's not Laval, I don't know. But it looks like Laval is written here. Then China is here. Okay, it's interesting. And see here, Australia is titled New Holland. And this map was from 1697, montrant les Indes orientales. So see here, you have the islands, les îles, okay, comme les îles de Salomon, also known as les îles de Salomon, China, which actually is the land of Shinar, Babylon. Here you see, this is from a Puck magazine, and see, you see Uncle Sam, and Uncle Sam represents the US, okay? So I do believe the real persona is German. Okay, I'm gonna have to find this image, but I do believe the real persona is German. So because of course the US is made up. Ovo is Moloch, okay? Keep that in mind. So depicted with 2 heads, eagle, just like a dragon, okay? A popular symbol used in Mesopotamia, and Mesopotamia refers to Iraq, also known as Shinar, China, Babylon, Sumer, Samaria, Assyria, where the Chaldeans resides. And the Chaldeans, you can think of Santa Claus, okay? They generally wear white and red, and they're known for sacrificing kids, and eating people. Okay, and also what's interesting is that he's standing on China, map of China. So a made-up map. Trade treaty with China. Okay, and then you see France, Russia, England, Italy. So think of Edom, in other words. Uncle Sam was performed by Dan Rice, also known as the clown. So Uncle Sam is also a clown. What is a clown? Is someone who misbehaved, playing a role, who's there to entertain people. And I do believe this image they use for the Israelites. They made fun of us. They put us on TV, like fighting ourselves, fighting each other, playing dumb, influencing people like us to do crime, to kill each other, and etc., etc. This is a photo of a slave auction, okay, vente d'esclaves in 1831. So, extrait de voyage de Suriname, description possession néerlandais dans la Guyane. See, they're wearing the clown hat or magician hat. They have the costume because even this costume, ce qu'on appelle un suit, originated from les colons, okay, les colons. And see the black women's, their breasts are naked. So whenever you see this representation in the modern fashion, so-called fashion or fascist, it's in representation to the Israelites being captured and put into servitude, into slavery. Even you see the children too. Even their head are wrapped with a towel or what looks like a towel. Okay, so then once again, Little Giant Jew jokes. So this was from the Dime novel collection in 1908. Okay, so the nose is important. Think even of the Sphinx, okay, which they broke the nose of the Sphinx. From l'Exposition Universelle in Paris. So en 1889, so 8-8, think of the Caribbean, West India. So once again, the people are naked and see the master, Mammon, in other words, the synagogue of Satan, who say they're Jews and are not. Then I spoke of East India. I spoke of West India, West Indies, being the Caribbean. So I think here it's interesting, okay? Because see here it's a representation of James Lancaster, who commanded the first East India Company voyage in 1601. And his vessel was a ship known as the Red Dragon. And we know that the dragon is the emblem of China. From Genesis, the serpent, to a dragon in Revelation, in Apocalypse. And also he has his right hands on the globe, okay, meaning the new world. And what's interesting here is that the flag of East India Company, so you see the Red Cross. So think of the company Red Cross, think of Switzerland, because Red Cross was born in Switzerland. The same cross you find in the logo of, in the flag of British. You find it in most of Europeans' flag, which represents Edom, Esaü. And the stripes too, okay, the stripes represent the blood of the slave, the same stripes that we find in the US flag. Also here, it's one of the emblem of the East India Company. So you see the two lions, because think of the tribe of Judah, so Haiti and Jamaica. The tribe of Judah represented with the Red Cross, because extermination of the tribe, okay, that's what it means. Then also, what stands for East India Company, the logo that they use is VOC, okay, VOC. That also looks like OVO, in other words. So this is a logo on Dutch East India, Les Indes Orientales Company. If we take the OVO and we put it on the map, I think it would fit. It would fit on the TO map. So, yeah. I'll do a demonstration, but also the V represents 5 in Roman numeral. And this one is the Dutch West India Company. So the previous was East, this one is the West. And Dutch West of India Company was a commerce activity where shipping slaves, administrators, farmers, and soldiers. In exchange, they would return with salt, beaver skin, silver, sugar, tobacco, coffee, chenille, campeche, and leatherwood. The company's native name is Géo-Tro-IRD. So géographie, okay? West West Indies Company, and was founded in the Netherlands on June 3rd. So Juneteenth, Satan held out from heaven, Pride Month. So it was founded on June 3rd, 1621. So this date, okay, marks the beginning of slavery. So 1621 marks the beginning of slavery. 400 years later, we're in 2021. So just before 2021 happened, we had coronavirus in 2019, which means the war against the crown. So because the Antichrist wants to be like God, okay, remember that? So of course he would do anything to steal the crown from God, which he can't, okay? But he will have 3 years where he will reign. Okay, then the Black Lives Movement, the BLM, in 2020. So Black Lives Movement has nothing to do with skin color. It has nothing to do with the Indian people. Instead, it has to do with Georgia, the land near Russia by the Black Sea. And the people from there are called Black people because they come from the Black Sea. And we're talking about spirits, in other words. Then Quarantaine happened in 2021. And Quarantaine, think of the 40 years the people of God did in the desert. Okay, after fleeing Egypt. And of course, the Red Sea and etc. Okay, so Ovo, see here, you see the same emblem, the two heads, the dragon. This is a Russia state symbol. Then see the V, then the O, the white horse. Think of the painting of Leonardo da Vinci, the boy leading the horse. And also think of Beyonce on the white horse, because she represents the same painting. And Ovo, of course, is Moloch. Okay, so on the right, and also you see on the Russian state, you see the pagan globe, and it's like reversed. So Asia is at the bottom, then you have Europe and Africa. They reverse the globe. So it's like the new world or the deception. And the world is not a globe to start with. Okay, then see here, you see this is Queen Elizabeth too. And she has the same pagan globe on her hands, which is once again reversed. I think it's interesting because I've showed the East India and then the West India Company, which here you see it's not a V, but instead it's a W. Okay, you can think of a 3-2 or M, McDonald, Warner Bros, etc. Okay. Okay, so these are the two, so this is like La République Le Navire, also known as Godspeed, okay? So it was captured on December 1606 because they wanted to found La Ville Jamestown in Virginia by the sea. So see the Statue of Liberty here. And the Statue of Liberty is in actually Lucifer. So this is a sailboat. See the logo, the X, the Red Cross. So I think it's interesting because I'll show a little more about Les Pirates des Caraïbes, but when you look at the map here that was pictured from 1775, so see here from the Hudson Bay, from the top to the bottom to Florida, this is all Indian reserve, des réserves indigènes. So the ironies do, I think that we have been brought into captivity. Some of us were already in the land, but some of us were taken from the islands and brought here, or we just took a plane and came into bondage without even knowing, without even consulting God. Yeah, c'est toutes des réserves indiennes. See the bay, la baie du Son is a very important water wave, which they use in order to bring slaves. And also here, Louisiana. So like in the music video of Beyonce, Mama Louisiana, you mix that Creole and then Texas Bama. Okay, so Louisiana Purchase. So see all this section is Louisiana. And Louisiana is known to be a Creole land. Okay, so, and I'm sure like there's a lot of Jamaicans and Haitian in all of this land. At least I live in Montreal. There's a lot of Jamaican in the west, and in the east, it's mostly Haitians. When you go to New York, you have Jamaican, des quartiers neighborhood, Jamaican neighborhoods. So we're both, and even like, I do believe there's a lot of Haitians neighborhoods in New York, but yeah, it's just to say that we were taken into bondage. And also, this is a boundary between Mississippi River and the 49. Okay, yeah, Mississippi River, very important.
Why should I go? Why should I go? Okello, this is my home. Not an emoji. Africa is for Africans. Black Africans.
Bye. Bye. Home? I don't know. The car.
It's not the same. Beautiful.
Mina.
Tyrone, this is,
Mina.
Mina. Oh. You talk to her. Are you from around here?
Yeah.
Mexican? No. Yeah, I used to live in L.A. There's plenty of Mexicans there looking pretty as you.
I'm Indian.
Oh, come on. You ain't no Indian.
Yes, I am.
And what's a girl like you doing in Mississippi? Punishing yourself?
Mina is my only child. I don't want her to go through the same struggle as I did.
Struggle? Look, I'm a black man born and raised in Mississippi. Ain't a damn thing you can tell me about struggle.
What do you know about my...
No, I know. I know that you and your daughter ain't but a few shades from this right here.
Save me, Jesus. What's up, Jake?
Hey, Skillet.
How's the lawsuit? Those niggas paid up yet? Jump fast.
Go on now. Go drink your beer.
See you, Skillet.
How long you been in Mississippi?
3 years?
And before that, India?
No. Before that, I was in England.
Oh.
And before that, I was in Africa.
Yeah?
Yeah. I've never been to India.
Never been to India?
No.
You kidding?
No, I'm not. I'm a mixed masala.
Mixed masala. Granddaddy?
Did you say you were from Indianola?
No, India.
You have to yell. He don't hear too good.
India.
Indiana?
India.
What biscuit?
I'm going to Africa one day to see Nelson Mandela. Then I can say I saw somebody for sure.
You gonna pay for the ticket, the welfare?
Young lady, tell me, how come they got Indians in Africa?
The British brought them there to build a railway.
Like slaves.
I guess. That's how my grandfather came. Then the railway was finished, and he stayed on.
How come you left?
Well, Dexter, let her eat her food, huh?
Just asking a question.
Let me make a comment in that movie that is called Masala or Mississippi Masala, which means spice, something that is spice. Chaud, okay, hot. Okay, so there's a question that was asked in that movie, okay? This movie was released in 1991, and a question was asked, how come there is Indians in Africa? Oh my God, this question gave me chills, but because it's like, I understood the scene. Sometimes you see a scene and I thought, you know, like the director who made the movie, okay? So you think you're looking at an Indian girl, so when you see the dialogue, you think that we're speaking about the main character, but really the main character of that movie are the blacks who don't know they are the Indians in Africa. Because the movie basically it's that Indian girl, Indian or African girl that we call Indians, or Phoenician, maybe she's Phoenician or Mexican, I don't know. but she comes to, so she lives in Uganda. Then they were a decree, I don't know, where they were sent out of Uganda to go to Mississippi. I believe it was Mississippi. And think of the Mississippi River, who's actually the Nile River. Okay, so that makes total sense. Anyway, so he said, so yeah, basically, so she moved, and now she's like 24, and then wherever she passed, people like, so where are you from? And she says, I'm Indian. And they're like, Indian? And one of them said, you're not Indian. So the director of the movie was telling us the real thing. But if you're an audience and you don't read between the lines, you don't realize that the dialogue, they're speaking about you. Okay? And these people who moved out from Africa and went to India, because in reality, Mississippi, it's probably India, les réserves indiennes. In reality, they came to destroy the real Indians, okay? Destruction. It's like having your enemies coming to your land, and this is always a punishment that is related to sin, to disobedience to God. So when you disobey, he leaves you. Il te laisse entre les mains de l'ennemi. But the moment you cry out to God, then he comes to deliver you. From that same moment you cry out to God. By faith. Okay, so she says, okay, so in the scene she replies, British brought them there to build the railroad like slaves. No, to build the railroad. And then the black, okay, the real Indian says, like slaves. And then she's like, I guess. But she said, yes, you're a slave, you don't know it. You think I'm the Indian, but I'm the imposter. You are the Indians, but you don't know. Just like when I spoke of Haiti, les Indes occidentales, India, West India, East India, also known as Papua, La Nouvelle-Guinée, the islands, because America does not exist. It's a total scam. Just focus on the 3 continents, the TO map, which you see also the logo in Telfar, in brands. It's like they tell you a lie, they give you a vision, but the truth is in plain sight also. But because you're so seduced, you don't even realize. Because Google is sponsored or powered by Bell, and is probably a 666 system. But even in that same Google, there is the truth. Because they take the truth to build the lie. Because God is the law, God is science, God is the beginning and the end. So Satan has to operate in God's system. And because he understands the system, he seduces men into following their own heart in order to lead them with their own will to destruction. So they will by doing propaganda, seducing, like a trap. It's like a physical trap. Because these nations, the Phoenicians or Mexicans, however you want to call them, or the Assyrians together with the British and etc., Edom, they're powerful, but not more powerful than the Creator himself. And he is Jésus-Christ, le roi des Juifs. So Indians are Jewish. Or plutôt the tribe of Judah are the Jewish, because not all Israel is Jewish, but Indians are Israelites, the first nation, indigène, Genesis, gene, which you will see, which I spoke of. Okay, so so the question would be, because I spoke of that in the previous episode, so is New York Liberia? Because Statue of Liberty, Liber, also known as Afrique du Sud, where Elon Musk is from, a scammer, okay, or maybe a Nephilim, fallen angel. Is Mississippi the Nile River? The Mississippi River. Is Mississippi the Nile River? And there's a verse that says they went to Egypt, speaking of the people of Israelites, les Israel, the chosen nation, us blacks, okay, us. That's why they're so after us. We're always targeted when it comes to the publicity, the music, all of this entertainment. It's always for us. But it's because we're God's people. That's so obvious to me. But it seems like people don't understand. And wherever you are, the moment you're black, it's like it's a war, okay? But keep in mind that even the Egyptians were black. And I'm speaking about skin color now. That's why Jesus was able to hide in Egypt. And that's why also Moses was able to hide in Egypt. God does whatever he wants. He can hide even in the enemy's territory because he is God. He owns all the land. He owns the earth. He's the creator himself, you know? Okay, and think about it. Jew and Jewish, wishing to be Jew, and then there's the real Jews. Okay, play on words, the etymology. Okay, so the true story is that Indians were brought in captivity in Africa and Europe and some islands. And there's a verse that I have to back this up in Isaiah 11:11. And shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, the remaining, so tribe of Judah, which shall be left from Assyria. So some of us are in Assyria. So we think we're like in Montreal, but let's say we're in Assyria, you know? That's the deception, the true deception. Because, anyway. So, wait. Okay, so left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Patros and from Cush and from Alam and from Shinear, okay, China, and from Amat and from the islands of the sea. Because even Britain, in the map that I shown, is at the bottom, à l'Occident. They're still by the sea, you know? Okay. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. So if you're Jamaican, Haitian, or from the islands that we call the Caraïbes, or anti-islands, you're probably, this is speaking to you.
So here, slave branding. So when you think of branding, so when the slaves were bought, they were marked, okay, with a brand. Nowadays, you can think of tattoos as branding. So this is a scars of a whipped enslaved man, Peter, from Mississippi. Peter, think of Peter in the Bible. So this photo was taken in April 2nd in 1863, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So the caption, the original caption says, "Overseer, Artayu, carrier, whipped me. I was 2 months in bed, sore from the whipping. My master come after I was whipped. He discharged the overseer." The very words of poor Peter taken as he sat for his picture. See, all these marks reminds me of the brand Timberland. There's a very dark meaning behind Timberland. Okay, so of course, so I spoke of Colombia, who did Les Grandes Explorations, the fake Jews, etc. These are the blonde, blue eyes, but these are in reality spirits, evil spirits that we call black people. Of course, Beyonce represents Colombia. The same goes for Obama and even Trump. So Colombia is Christophe Columbus. So this photo, she's reaching at the people, inviting them to come into the land, promising them money, the American dream, etc. But in reality, it's deception. So these are like the same character, whether we talk about Colombia, Christophe Columbus, or Dan Rice, who's a circus ring of fame. Okay, so now this is Beyonce once again depicting Colombia. See the hat, and there is in the back you have, I'm pretty sure, one of them is African, and I do believe this one is Haitian, this one is African for some reason, but I don't know if I'm right. And formation, think of when God formed Adam and Eve. So formation, these are androgyne beings, demons. So form, it's really, see where the form is. Once again, les 13 colonies, this is just another depiction of the map. So this is les territoires indiens ici, territoire indien. So all Canada and a very big part of the US is territoire indien. Pretty interesting. So see Georgia, but there's also a Georgia near Russia. So in the music video, This is the music video formation. So there's a scene where she says, I'm a star, and see the hand signs that she does. Think of Shiva, destruction. The men are wearing suits. They're in front of a building with 4 columns, or maybe 6 columns, I'm not sure. And when she says that she's a star, she's talking about the star of Remphan. She's saying that she's a siren, a spirit. Of course, depiction of the Pirates des Caraïbes, I need to bring that. So, La Malédiction du Black Pearl, a movie by Disney that was released in 2003. So what's interesting is that there's an X, okay, Pirates des Caraïbes. He has dreads, blonde dreads. And what people don't know is that the pirate who we call Pirates des Caraïbes is actually a spirit, okay, Moloch. In the back, you see the Dutch, so the white and the red, Chaldeans probably, okay, and they all have a marine hat. Then, of course, Pirates des Caraïbes is a representation of Bob Marley. And Bob Marley is represented as a lion. So the dreads represent the lion. It represents also sort of Versace, which represents Shiva. In other words, Bob Marley is the image of British youth in order to destroy the Jamaicans and the Haitians. And when he sings one love, he's talking about the one world system, the solar system, the system of Lucifer, the deception of the planets, which we can't even leave the earth because there's water above. And of course, Bob Marley is a representation of Obama, who's the 44th president of the US. And remember, God created the sun, the moon, the stars. And then there was a evening and a morning, and it was the 4th day. And also, Obama represents also Akhenaten, the 10th ruler of the 18th dynasty. So Luke 10:18, when Satan was held out from heaven. And see the X once again, because extermination. And that's interesting because they have like the same pose, Obama and they have like the same pose. And Obama has another role too. He's playing is the golden voice. Okay, so this is Bob Marley live in concert. So see the guitar, just like Shiva. So Bob Marley is really a representation of Shiva, but he was molded in the image of Jamaicans in order to influence them. He's like their emblem leading them to destruction, which Jamaicans are part of the tribe of Judah, just like the Haitians. The same representation was made for the cover album of Bruce Springsteen, Born in USA. So they talk about freedom, but in reality it's bondage. So the Black Pearl, going back to Pirates des Caraïbes, both very popular in Pirates des Caraïbes, that is called the Black Pearl. Formerly known as Merchant Ship, Wicked Wench, was a sailboat used in East India Trading Company, known as the only ship that could outro the Dutchmen. So this is literally a spirit boat. See the X? This is the logo of Pirates des Caraïbes. Yes, so the sailboat, the same boat as this one. It's really the same thing. Okay, so these are the logos. So Dutch West India Company flag, that comes from Netherlands. And then you have the British East India Company flag, which represents England. Okay, so these are the logos that we will see further. So you have the Shiva logo represented in many forms. So you have the yin yang or 6-9. You have the telfar, the bag, the TO. I do believe this is tied to or attached to Beyonce. Then you have the target. So what's the target? Well, it's Jerusalem. And even the Hindu with the red dot in their forehead, it has to do with Shiva, destruction. So when you target something, it's because you want to destroy it. Then you have the swastika. You have also Twitter that was changed for X, extermination. And even Twitter, the logo, the blue. Okay, I'll talk about Twitter later. But the blue logo was in representation to the birth Genesis, the world Genesis. And now X changed to X, extermination of the world. The danger logo is also a X. Then this is another form of swastika. and this is the Red Cross logo, all the same thing. X-Men, okay, even X-Men here. Extermination of men, of mankind. And we're talking about here X-Men. I do believe in the movie these are like Nephilims. They have like so-called superpowers because these are the demons that were cast out from heaven with Satan. Genesis 15:12-13 says, as the sun was setting, Abram fell into a deep sleep, and suddenly great terror and darkness overwhelmed him. Then the Lord said unto Abram, know for certain that your descendant will be strangers in a land that is not their own, and they will be enslaved and mistreated 400 years. But I will judge the nation they serve as slaves, and afterward they will depart with many possessions. You, however, will go to your fathers in peace and be buried at a rip of old age. So old age, golden age. So that means that the people of Israel will go back to their land. And their land, India, les Indes occidentales. Of course, we're talking about Mammon. You can serve two masters. It's either you serve Christ or you serve the devil. So you serve money, you serve material possession, you serve the American dream, in other words. So this is Wall Street turning into an empire. Whoa, whoa. But what is the question you should ask yourself? What is the core of the economy of Wall Street? Well, it is slavery. It is you, your body, your soul. So this is the demon god that they serve that is placed in front of Wall Street. So think of impurity, unclean spirits. That reminds me also of hamburger. What we call hamburger is in reality pork, or is it beef? So I guess burger would be beef and hamburger would be pork. And that reminds me also of Charlotte's Web, a children's novel published in 1952. So I'll just read the plot. So the Arable family are a farm family who raise and sell animals. One day, John Arable attempts to slaughter the runt of a little piglet that were born the night before, but his daughter Fern pleads for the piglet's life and John gives him to her. Naming him Wilbur, Fern treats him as a pet and the two become incredibly close. Eventually, Wilbur is no longer small, and so John decides to sell him to Fern Dismay. As summer passes, Charlotte comes up with a plan to save Wilbur, reasoning that Zuckerman would not kill a famous pig. She weaves the word and short phrases in praise of Wilbur into her web, the first phrase being some pig. So I guess she made the pig popular so that no one can touch the pig, the unclean spirits. So in this book, farm animals are depicted as anthropomorphic, meaning that they can talk. Like demons that you can change into animals. So these are like demons in the image of animals. So let's think of what is a network. So net, then work. So net, web, spider web, internet. It's like un piège, le filet de l'oiseleur. So work, job. It's like you're in a spiral. Think of the solar system too. Now internet. So think of international, the international web, World Wide Web, Dominion, WW. So I do believe this would be a tool that the Antichrist used in the last days. Net, safety net that they use in sports, in the Olympics, sports net, spider web. Then think of currency. When we talk about money, we're like, okay, euro currency, pesos currency, etc., etc. But truly the real currency is your soul, okay, your body. And they do immigration is used in order to like put people into slavery, free people, and etc. You bring people to bondage while attracting them, just like Colombia did. She's like, come live the American dream. You'll be free. Come. But in reality, you're coming into bondage. You're coming into Parkwood, okay? What they call the hood. So, of course, when it comes to trading and to the economy, you have to speak numbers, baby. It's all about numbers. Okay, there's a lot of hating messages through numbers. Just like 88, which represents the Caribbean. Okay, so now think of the lottery tickets too. Think of trading, casinos, all these play in order to make money. the deception.
So when it comes to working, now we think of being behind a computer. That is deception or controlling machines. This type of work is there to impoverish you, because that means that la main d'oeuvre is not valuable anymore. And when God placed Adam in the garden, it was to cultivate the earth, the soil. And of course you have to use your hands, whether it's to sow, whether it's to harvest, whether it's to pour creuser. But of course you have tools to make that easier, which is okay. But you use your own hands, you know? So the hands are important. And even when it comes to the ministry, God uses the hands to heal. Il dit, impose tes mains and they will heal. Your hands is very powerful. So don't ever let a machine take over your hands. Tu dois être habile, because talent starts with your hands. Les talents, it starts there, not with money, not with material possession. You are the money. You are the currency. Because whether a city is built without inhabitant, without human ability or humans living there, the project is not possible. Okay, so nothing is possible if there's no human. And that's why God placed Adam in the garden, in order to cultivate that vision that he made, or that world, the world that he made. So, we are the center of the universe. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to read Proverbs 12:24. The hand of the diligent shall bear rule, but the slothful shall be under tribute. So under like poverty or chain. So yeah, that's what I want to read. So if everything is digital and computerized, how can we apply that command, ce commandement, that command? How is it possible to apply to be in God's will if we don't apply the law of using our own hands in order to work? Because using AI, which are demons, in other words, like speaking to a demon and he does the work and you just present it as your own, is deception. It's deception. And there's a certain extent you don't include AI, you don't partner with a demon in order to create something, because AI means anti-Christ. These are spirits, intelligence artificielle, in other ways. Intelligence artificielle. These are demons. Okay, let's wake up. And what we call aliens, demons once again. Okay, let's see. So think of the astral world. Meta is in reality a camera. So these glasses is a symbol of the astral world. Okay, the 8, the astral world. So when you put the glasses on, you see what's really behind. You have another. You came into the world of the spiritual, the astral, comme astro projection. Okay, so leaving your body out to demons, in other words. So being in debt for material possession, that is crazy too. Being enslaved for material possession, that is insane. For the price of your soul. Why did I wrote this? Oh yeah, I guess. Okay.
So also here, money being printed, it's reference to President Nixon, who decided to remove the American economy from the trading system. So it doesn't rely on gold anymore. That means that you can print as much money as you want. That means that money doesn't mean ish. Okay, it's like just a piece of paper. It doesn't mean anything. It's not attached to a real value. Now, also we can think of BHMM. B, better have my money. Body as currency, human trafficking, prostitution, Mammon master. L'argent est le fétiche le plus pervers qui existe, said Demna. So money is the more perverse fetish of people, said Demna, who is the director of the clothing brand, fascist brand, Balenciaga, which means Baal is king.
At the end of World War II, the economies of the major industrial nations of Europe and Asia were shattered. To help them get on their feet and to protect their freedom, the United States has provided, over the past 25 years, $143 billion. Because of the progress we have made toward achieving that goal, this Sunday evening is an appropriate time for us to turn our attention to the challenges of peace. America today has the best opportunity in this century to achieve two of its greatest ideals, to bring about a full generation of peace and to create a new prosperity without war. This not only requires bold leadership ready to take bold action, it calls forth the greatness in a great people. Prosperity without war requires action on three fronts. We must create more and better jobs. We must stop the rise in the cost of living. We must protect the dollar from the attacks of international money speculators. That was the right thing for us to do. But now that other nations are economically strong, the time has come for them to bear their fair share of the burden of defending freedom around the world. The time has come for exchange rates to be set straight and for the major nations to compete as equals. There is no longer any need for the United States to compete with one hand tied behind her back. Capable of producing for its decades. We are fortunate to live in a nation with an economic system capable of producing for its people the highest standard of living in the world. A system flexible enough to change its ways dramatically when circumstances call for change. And most important, a system resourceful enough to produce prosperity with freedom and opportunity unmatched in the history of nations.
How important is money for you?
Oh, very important.
Like how important?
Well, I've been completely without it before, so I know how important it is.
Does it give you freedom?
Yeah, I'd say it's the closest thing to freedom.
Is the anthem of success. So before we go out, what's your address? I'm your national anthem. Tell me I'm your national. Who you think about, making me so wound up.
Okay, so this is Rihanna in the music video BBHM. So see, il y a un coffre ici, and she's literally in the coffre. That means that, yeah, there's the money, but the real money is the body, okay? It's the body possession, or demons having a body so they can operate in the realm of people. And also when it comes to targeting the Indians, which means aka black people, see here, blue face, think of someone who doesn't have any oxygen. Okay, I can't breathe. And his necklace, so we say, oh, he has a lot of money, but in reality, he's like treated as a dog. And even the tattoos represents ownership, so they have ownership over him. That's why God says not to mark your body with tattoos of death. God forbids that. Then he had his so-called girlfriend, which in reality is probably a man, androgyne, Christian rock. So of course the blaspheme, Christ being the rock. Anyway, she has her so-called son. And this was posted on X, IG, Meta on March 2024. So yes. So the question would be, is that a real baby? Because there's literally an industry with babies now. And also there's a lot of fake babies that you see on TV that are not real babies, made up to influence your own child. Because I do believe when you look at a baby, the first thing you say, oh, it's inoffensive, okay? You don't think of danger. So that's why they use the baby's image. Okay, so of course, blue face, blue, the color blue. So in reference to Genesis, when the world was one, think of the Babel of Tower. So Queen Elizabeth touching to the Commonwealth of Nation Globe during the Beacon Lightning ceremony in Windsor Castle for the Jubilee 2022. See, she's wearing a cyan, what looks like a cyan blue, just like the Statue of Liberty. Then she has the pagan globe in her hand. Then it lights up and it goes to this tree right here that we call the tree of, well, think of the tree of life back in Eden. And remember, Britain is at the bottom. C'est à l'Occident. And at the top, l'Orient, you find what we call paradise, the Jardin d'Eden. The way the lights are set up in the ground, it looks like DNA. It looks like a serpent or a DNA, just right here. And it has to do with the prosperity of the serpent. When we say the war against black and white, in reality, it's the demons versus the humans, okay? The image of God versus the image of Satan. There are two prosperity, and this is what we call race. The race of the serpent and the race of Eve. And then the race of Eve, you find different nations like les Edomites, les Israelites, and maybe etc. Okay. The same tree that we call the tree of life or the tree of death, the forbidden tree. Beyonce is depicting that in her music video with Shatta Wale, Major Lazer, the title being Already. And this was done for the movie Lion King, The Gift. I've spoken of the Lion King movie by Disney. That in reality is a story about Pride Month. It's a LGBTQ story, in other words. So see, she's on the water representing water spirits. Then you have demons in the trees. And I do believe they're practicing the Yoshura ritual, okay? Which are demons reincarnated into, reborn demons, in other words. Okay, so of course, in reference to Timberland, it looks exactly like the Theo map, okay? So reversed. Then if you reverse the Timberland, you realize that we're talking about the underworld, marine spirits, and Timberlands, the land meaning the land of bondage, where they brought the people of Israel into bondage and the tribe of Judah. And of course, I can't stop but think of New York, where these brands are very popular. And of course, Canada. Okay, so of course, it's also a depiction, that same brand, Timberland, is a depiction of the Phoenicians' coin. The Phoenician coins is talking about the legend of the dog biting the sea snail. I don't know what it is with dogs exactly, but I do know there's a verse where a Canaan asked Jesus for to heal her son, and he said, it's not for you that I came for my people, and I can't just be giving the food to just dogs. And she says that, you just have to say one word and my son will be delivered. And then she got her healing for her son. Yeah, I do think there's something with dogs and Edomite, Canaanites. The same tree of life we find in the music video of Rockstar with Post Malone and 21 Savage. So 21 Savage. Think of Edom. Think of Esau, loved by his father because he knew how to hunt and he loved meat. In the back, you see the so-called tree of life. Now they're covered with blood too. I think it's in reference to Jesus Christ, who pled his blood he was the ultimate sacrifice in order to save anyone who wants to believe in him. But anyone meaning like the image of God, not the Nephilims, okay? So, of course, that reminded me of the mark in the Peter's back, okay, the slave from Louisiana Creole. Okay, so let's talk about Timberland. So it was founded as a textile company in 1928 by Nathan Swartz, and think of swastika. But the company started in 1818 with a Jewish-born shoemaker. Yeah. So partnership with the other brands like Tommy Hilfiger, Louis Vuitton, Supreme Ovo, Beeline, Boys, BBC, Boys, Billionaire Boy Club. So just think about it, okay? Oh yeah, also work Off-White and also work with baseball team New York Yankees. So think about it. They say they're Jews, but they're of the synagogue of Satan. And here you even see Trump administration has ordered the removal of signs and exhibits related to slavery at multiple national parks, including History 1863 photo of formerly enslaved man with the scars on his back. But see this logo, the WS? This is exactly the West India logo, which has to do with the trading of the Israelites, okay? Slavery. So that's ironic. But if you do understand the logos, then you realize that most of all these logos are signs of slavery. So I wanted to bring this company or this studio company that is called iStudio, and we know what's happening today with ICE Group. Okay, it's like une reproduction, a reproduction of BLM, ICE. Okay, I Can Breathe, in order to exterminate the Jews. So see, they take the image of the Jews. So they take your image in order to, because they're targeting the Jews. But behind these imagery, these are anti-Jews, okay? The fake Jews, which say they're Jews, but they are of the synagogue of Satan. And some of them look like us, but in order, these are demons walking the earth. Okay, so iStudio in reference to the ICE Group, and Timberlands in reference to slavery. The underworld, ICE. Okay. No one is illegal on stolen land. Now you see, protect the neighbors, No ICE or troops, ICE out of the No troops on the bay. So bay was what they use in order to, like la baie du Son, you know. These companies were dealing with slaves, selling slaves, Israelites in other words. And see, ICE, it has to do with the demons that we call Black Power, the same ones Basquiat was painting, and in reference to the movie Day Live in 1988. Okay, so this is also Rihanna depicting the fake Jews. So see the magician hat. In the back, you see that looks like a truck, a work truck. Then she's in white. She's like, I do believe she's sort of representing the same image as Beyonce with the two men's. But we're looking at principalities. These are demons because we fight not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So they're wearing the suits. So she's the master. She's literally like half naked, but this is an androgyne, okay? That doesn't mean this is a woman. So this was issued on September 2021. 2021 should mark the year of the end of slavery. So Isaiah 47, 1-4, let me read that. So come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. So think they were forming Virginia. Okay, building Virginia. Anyway, sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, Babylon. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the milestones and grind meal, and cover thy locks, make bare the leg, and cover the tight, pass over the rivers, thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. As for our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. So, yes, they brought Israel into slavery, but God does not play about his children. That same people he used or he allowed to bring Israel into bondage because of their disobedience, these people who persecuted Israel will be the same people who will be punished by God. Of course, New York, very important. So Occupy Wall Street. So see the Statue of Liberty. It looks sort of like Trudeau for some reason. It represents the soul. It represents soul, sun god, Remphan, star of Remphan, marijuana. All these worship the sun. Even it's an Egyptian practice to worship the sun, the golden disc. Even the blonde hair, the silver hair, it's to worship the sun and the moon. Even the first album of Rihanna was titled Music of the Sun, worshiping the sun. Beyonce, keeping the blonde hair, was in worship to the sun, Lucifer. And she signed to Columbia, Moloch, Columbia Records. Think of Sony Music, so the sun and the moon intertwine. Image companies, music company, intertwine. Okay, so head of Lucifer, Ronald McDonald, Trump, which means trumpet, Hitler and Crowley's ideal, the anti-Jew propaganda. Okay, so of course, machinery, you think of work. Think of petrol too. Think of homelessness. And that reminds me the story of the Golden Voice on Columbia District. So this is the Golden Voice, and he looks exactly like Obama. So in January 2011, with few possession other than a handwriting sign, he clutched as cars whizzed by Ted Williams stood in the cold at a busy intersection in Columbus, Ohio, hoping for a miracle. So it's the golden voice, golden voice. So Williams dreamed of getting off the streets and back in front of a microphone like a clown, and unexpectedly came true when a Columbus Dispatch reporter noticed his sign, which pled for help and boasted about Williams' God-given gift of voice. The Dispatch posted a video of Williams attending, grabbing, baritone voice, and overnight. Williams went viral. He got a haircut, a shave, and offers a big-time work, including voicing commercials for Kraft macaroni and cheese. So now he's made a clown. His dream, the American dream, means that you dream to be a clown. Just like, I have a dream.
We face the difficulties of today and tomorrow. I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream.
Welcomes the outspoken Negro leader, Malcolm X.
You've called people like Martin Luther King, who just got a Nobel Peace Prize, an Uncle Tom. Is this correct? first?
Well, I'd rather say that in the States, there's a law that has recently been passed, or a decision handed down by the court, wherein if you call someone an Uncle Tom, they can sue you for libel.
Well,
so I never refer to them as Uncle Toms. I would say that Uncle Martin is my friend.
Uncle Martin is your friend, yet you would disagree with his approach to what he wants to accomplish.
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Deception. So famous entertainer Ted Williams. So Curtly met Williams when she was 18, and even then he had dreams of becoming a radio personality. I was about to melt, she said, of first hearing his voice. He does have a God-given gift. He was always the entertainer. He always played music. He was like the DJ. So even DJing is deception. He nicknamed himself Teddy Bear. Aside from radio gigs, William would act as an MC for entertainers who came through Columbus. Curtly said her ex didn't handle fame well and got caught up with women, booze, and drugs. Well, that's literally the path. Well, the path is now instead of drinking cheap alcohol, now you're drinking expensive alcohol. But the thing is, you're still a alcoholic, in other words. Let's be honest, okay? There's a law written in the Bible. If you don't take care of your own household and you go out there pretending to care about others, you're worse than a pagan. You're worse than a pagan. It starts at home, to all the fathers and mothers too. Okay, so here the scene. So hands up in reference to an arrest, and that looks like a riot. Think of Riot Rose, the name of Rihanna's baby, so-called baby. So fire. Okay, so let's read about money. So Wall Street, a number scheme, getting richer by transgressing the law of the Sabbath God established on the seventh day for his people. The Sabbath is what differentiates the slave from the free man. War is a bloody way for countries to get richer. Not only the invaders seek to steal the land, but also all the richness this land has, like the precious stones, natural gas, and oils, and raw materials to build, food, water, and most importantly, the people they bring into slavery. So even think of back to the story of Babel. They didn't have stones, so they had to craft bricks. So that's another indication that we are in Mesopotamia. Most of the houses here in Canada are made of bricks. And we are located beyond Two River. Okay, so now let's talk about anti. So anti, ant, antenna, aten, Wi-Fi, antenna, iPhone, me, myself, and AI, land, okay, the apple of the eye. Island, les îles. Anti refers to Antichrist. So Antichrist means anti-Jews, anti-Israelites, anti-image of God, anti-human, X-Men. AI refers to chaos. So of course, an atmosphere has to be set in order for Satan to reign. Just like back in Genesis, when the world was void and empty and etc. Okay, so now let's talk about the scene. So this is one of the scene of the music video. So see the explosion, chaos, destruction. So think of the Hitler salute. The Statue of Liberty seems like he's doing the Hitler salute. So think of World War I, World War II, destruction, anti-AI, but now it's on the land. Okay, so the swastika logo. Then you have the Red Cross logo too. So Hitler said, "He alone who owns the youth gains the future." And this is what Adolf Hitler said at a rally in 1935 as part of a Nazi effort to indoctrinate the youth. Of course, we have to talk about Antifa, Anti-Fascist Handbook, and fascist is the word we use for fashion. This is Hitler Golden Dawn Association, which was founded in Greece, so Greek. It is the third most popular political party with Nazi ideology glorifying Hitler, blonde hair and blue eyes. So that means that politics is used in order to... So there's two things, okay? Demonocracy, like demon, you're literally led by demons, because we fight not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, etc. It's either theocratic, where you follow the law of God, the ultimate law, the law that he gave Moses. And also the members were Nikos, Mishaloka, leader, and Roupakias. I don't know what these names are. And Antifa, think of the current group that we call Antifa. In reality, it's anti-Jew once again. See the eagle with the two heads? There's a verse that says, wait, can I find this verse? Because let me explain the two head, the dragon. I gotta explain that so it's clearer. The two head, the dragon. Where is it? Where is it? Revelation 13, the beast who was his deadly wound in the head was healed. So that is the reference. That's why also you see Pirates des Caraïbes with a red scarf. His deadly wound was healed. The same goes with the movie Escape New York. Okay, the principal character, his deadly wound was healed. So they all represents Moloch, the dragon, the end-time dragon. So now they're depicted with two heads. The two heads here. Okay. So, of course, then here you see the three lines. The three lines that reminds me of Adidas logo, McDonald logo, Adidas. So West is also W, is also 3. It's also used as a M. And I think it's in relation to the Pearl River and the bridges. The bridge is just right here. So it's like Macau, who's like it. Well, okay, well, Macau, where people come and they do like partner trading with the United States. And it's in reference also to Les Voyages de Christophe Colomb, who's Moloch in reality. Okay, so see Jamaica, Cuba, Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, Guadeloupe, etc., etc. Okay, so also it's represented with the 3 necklaces. So you see it really everywhere. See the 3 bridges here? Okay. It has to do with slavery. See the Pearl River? And I spoke of the pearl sheep. The black pearl, which is a boat they used to sheep Israelites or Jewish. Okay, so you see the logo is pretty. Monster Drink, Spotify, Adidas, McDonald's. And I do believe McDonald's is selling like people because the Chaldeans are known to eat people. It's part of the ritual. Then Adidas, Web3, Twitter, the old Twitter logo, Tesla, and you even see the oval, www, domain, internet domain. Of course, Beyonce is wearing the 3 strikes here too, once again. It's put in evidence. Then she has sort of like a diamond bustier under. And Beyonce, boy once, she's the face of Colombia. Even in this picture on the right, the Vogue British magazine, so British, keep that in mind. See, she's on a red horse, and that looks like a smirk of, I do believe, I'm not sure if I see the serpent, but I sort of see a serpent here. Then see, in the back, there's a lot of like hidden images. That sort of looks like a forest, but here there's an owl. I don't know if you can see it. And here she's really in the middle of like a circle, and that circle, think of the evil eye, think of what would they call Lucifer, the son of darkness, Columbia, the eye, the Columbia CBS logo, and she's literally in the middle. So it's Columbia Broadcast System. Okay, so of course the ovo is represented here. Once again, the white horse, ovo, Moloch, the Russian emblem, and Russia is in reality Gog and Magog, the British giant. And here on the left, it's a depiction of devil Gog and Magog that attacked the holy city, because they're part of the East India Company and the West India Company, the Dutchmen, and Beyonce is depicting the Dutchman. So see, it's like the devil attacking the temple of God. Well, it's just a depiction. Okay. Then, of course, the same ovo logo is used here, the 2 heads, is also the Roman Empire emblem. So the double-headed eagle with Alos, so the dragon. And the colors are the yellow for the sun. And their flag is red and yellow, or burgundy and yellow. So see the rooms of the Temple of Saturn in Rome, Italy. So see 6 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the 2 in the back, which gives a total of 8. Think of the Star of Remphan. And also what's interesting is that this is the Roman calendar. Some people ignore that we live in Roman time, meaning that the calendars, the clock, and all of even the globe, the pagan globe, it's all these imageries were made up by the Romans. And we know that the Romans, their god is Satan. This is the Saturn temple, which means Satan. And even here, see the dome for dominion. The world is not a globe, but instead there is a dome above a circle, a flat circle. And it's also in reference to here. The same goes like 6 columns. The temple was reproduced in many countries. Destroyed there and rebuilt there. Destroyed there. These are like symbol. Architecture is a symbol. And then see in the first photo, you see the swastika, meaning the anti-Jew logo, the destruction of the Jew. This color looks familiar to me, but I can't really tell. And then here you see once again, the anti-Jew logo, the Star of Remphan. They say they're Jews, but they're of the synagogue of Satan. And the thing was signed, I do believe in 1948 was when the Caribbean, Haiti being the last signature, that allowed the European to create an Israeli state, the renaissance of the Israeli states. And the renaissance has to do with a state, the fake Israeli states that we call today Israel, but which is not. These are the synagogue of Satan. And now the goal is to bring the Indian people into prisons, to exterminate them, to destroy the families, to destroy their reproduction system, to lead them into destruction, fornication. So the George Floyd I Can Breathe BLM protest was literally a chant to demons. The head of George Floyd is in reality a Phoenician head. What we call today the Phoenicians, we call them today Mexicans. And Phoenicians, of course, are a devil worshipper. If you go to Mexique, you'll realize that they have dragons like everywhere. Okay, they're devil worshipper in other ways. And they use the image of Indians in order to influence us into behaving a certain way. It's like the clown. It's literally like a clown. Someone who was hired to act and to influence the people to fill the prisons, to fill the hospitals, to fill the tombs, to fill the cemetery, in other words.
What? Know ye not that that your body is a temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, which ye have of God, and ye are not your own. You've been bought up. You've been bought. Bought for freedom, not for bondage. Okay? God brought you out of bondage and gave you freedom, His Holy Spirit, life, joy, etc. If you reside in it, if you stay in His will. Okay? And of course, no, not if you stay in His will. If you apply what is told in His will, which is the Bible, when you apply that path or that etc., then you get that result. And if you don't, you get the other result. So both are His will, but it's up to you. Which one do you decide? You have free will. So we were made in the image of God. The Holy Spirit resides in man's heart for those who have accepted the Holy Spirit. Man is the center of the universe. God gave man dominion, not Satan. And you know, He promised Eve, He said, you will be in the image of God, but Eve is already made in the image of God. She was already made in the image of God. So see the deception? Satan comes to kill, steal, and destroy. So I hope you enjoyed that video. So I have a boutique. So if you want to buy music, however you want to buy, you can. I also have a ebook, which which is available, not the full version of the book, but it's available online if you're looking for entertainment that edify. So it's a story about a Black Jerusalem, okay? Then when it comes to, yeah, that's pretty much it. I do have also a new song coming. I don't know if I'm gonna include it in that video, but yeah, enjoy. So have a nice one and see you on the next one. And I do think if you've made until that last, you should watch the previous video. It's a pretty good series, okay? And I'm not sure if it's gonna stay for long on the internet and what's gonna happen.
Yeah.